Right now, as you're watching this, more than 40,000 construction workers are scattered across New York City pulling off engineering feats that sound impossible. We're talking about over $35 billion in active construction. They're building towers that flip gravity on its head, demolishing the world's busiest bus terminal without closing it for a single day, and constructing entire islands designed to save humanity from climate collapse. These aren't just buildings going up. These are projects that redefine what engineers thought could be done. 5 mega constructions are actively reshaping Manhattan, and when you see what's at number 1, you'll question everything you thought you knew about how skyscrapers work. Let's dive into the madness, starting at number 5. Picture an island sitting in the middle of New York Harbor, 172 acres of open land that once held military housing, now becoming something the world has never seen. A full-scale, real-world laboratory dedicated entirely to climate solutions. Welcome to the New York Climate Exchange, a project that asks a question humanity can't afford to ignore. Can a city be engineered to help heal the planet instead of harm it? The scale alone is staggering. 2 massive, all-electric buildings rise from the island, constructed entirely from mass timber, a material that actually stores carbon instead of releasing it. Connecting them is a sweeping solar canopy curved like a futuristic wing, generating enough clean energy to power the entire complex around the clock. And here's where this project becomes historic. It's set to be the first in New York City to meet the Living Building Challenge, one of the hardest sustainability standards on Earth. That means every drop of water used on the island is treated on site. Every kilowatt of energy is produced right there. 95% of waste is diverted away from landfills. In short, the buildings behave like a living organism, leaving nothing behind. Numbers? Let's talk numbers. More than 400,000 square feet of cutting-edge research facilities. Over 600 post-secondary students, 4,500 K-12 students, and 6,000 workforce trainees cycling through every single year. More than 2,200 union jobs created, and an estimated $1 billion in economic impact. But the most important stat might be this. The entire campus is raised 8 feet higher than the current sea level. They aren't just building for today's climate. They're designing for the climate disasters we know are coming. This isn't just a construction project. It's a test run for the kind of cities we may all need to survive the next century. And if that's only number 5, you can imagine what's coming next. If you've ever walked through Hudson Yards, you already know it feels like stepping into the future. Towering glass structures, a shopping complex the size of a small town, and the vessel, love it or hate it, sitting in the middle like a piece of modern art from an alien civilization. But what most people don't know is that Phase 1 was just sound check. Phase 2 is the main event. This part alone costs $12 billion, bringing the entire Hudson Yards development to a jaw-dropping $32 billion, the most expensive private real estate project in American history. Phase 2 comes with 3 super-tall skyscrapers, including an 80-story residential tower soaring nearly 1,200 feet into the air, a 366-foot office giant, 4,000 new homes with 625 permanently affordable, a 5.6-acre park nearly the size of Bryant Park, a brand new K-8 school and daycare, and 2 million square feet of office space. But none of those numbers tell you why this project is borderline unbelievable. Because Hudson Yards isn't being built on land. It's being built on top of active train yards, a maze of Long Island Railroad tracks where trains are constantly moving beneath the future streets, towers, and parks. Imagine constructing skyscrapers, residential blocks, and public spaces on a floating platform while hundreds of thousands of commuters pass beneath it every day. It's like building an entire city district on top of a living, breathing machine that never turns off. By the time Phase 2 wraps up around 2032, 28 acres of what used to be industrial wasteland will have transformed into one of the most advanced neighborhoods on Earth. But as wild as this sounds, it still isn't the toughest challenge engineers in the city are tackling right now. If you've ever taken a bus into Manhattan, you've probably survived the chaos that is the Port Authority bus terminal. Built in 1950, outdated by the 1970s, and somehow still responsible for more than 250,000 daily passenger trips. It's the busiest bus terminal in the world. And one of the most hated pieces of infrastructure in America. Bathrooms falling apart, hallways that feel like a maze, signage that confuses even people who use it every day. So you'd think the solution would be simple. Shut it down, rebuild it, and start fresh. But that's not an option, because shutting it down would strand hundreds of thousands of people, commuters who rely on it for work, school, and everything in between. So engineers were handed one of the most insane tasks in modern construction: rebuild the entire terminal from scratch, while keeping it fully operational. No pauses, no cancellations, no delays. To pull that off, they're building a temporary terminal first, a massive, fully functional facility that will handle daily operations while the original terminal is demolished and reconstructed. Later, that temporary structure will convert into long-term bus storage. Phase 1 involves creating new deck space over active areas of Dyer Avenue and the Lincoln Tunnel Expressway. That means crews are literally constructing new land over traffic moving beneath them. Those decks will eventually become 3.5 acres of public green space. The price tag, $10 billion, supported by a $1.9 billion federal loan. And when it's done, the new terminal will be a different universe: 2.1 million square feet of space. A 5-story main terminal gleaming with natural light. A storage facility holding 350 buses instead of today's 50. A winding helix ramp system to manage the flow of vehicles. And capacity that jumps from 600 buses per hour to more than 1,000. All while preparing for an all-electric, net-zero emissions bus fleet. Construction already kicked off in May 2025. Phase 1 ends in 2029. The new main terminal lands in 2032. Rebuilding anything this crucial while it's being used at full capacity is the kind of challenge that would terrify most engineers. But the next project makes even that look manageable. Every major city has a transportation hub that feels essential to life, but nothing compares to Penn Station. More than 650,000 people pass through it every day. That's more foot traffic than all 3 of New York's major airports combined. And yet Penn Station was never designed for numbers like that. It was originally meant to handle 40,000 people per hour. By 2015, it was dealing with 65,000. If nothing changes, by 2032 it could swell to levels approaching 4 times what the station was built for. In other words, Penn Station isn't just crowded, it's suffocating. That's why New York is launching the Empire Station Complex, a complete transformation of both the station and the 6 blocks surrounding it. This isn't a renovation, it's a reinvention. The plan includes 20 million square feet of mixed-use development, 10 new buildings, 8 development sites stretching from 30th to 34th Street, 8 new underground tracks, a 40% increase in train capacity, and 5 super tall towers, each rising between 1,000 and 1,300 feet. When it's done, the complex could serve 830,000 passengers per day, nearly a million. But here's the nightmare fuel. Penn Station can't shut down, not even for a day. More than 1,000 trains move through it daily across Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and the Long Island Railroad. Every track must stay live. Every rush hour must function. It's the equivalent of rebuilding a commercial airplane mid-flight, refitting its engines, reshaping the cabin, and upgrading the cockpit, all while the plane remains in the air and fully booked. Construction is planned to begin by the end of 2027, led by Amtrak. The project has sparked heated debate about neighborhood impact, possible demolitions, and displacement, but no one denies that something has to change. When the new Penn Station opens its doors, it will feature vast sunlit atriums, 30 escalators and elevators, a public plaza the size of a small park, and a transportation center rivaling Grand Central in beauty. And yet, none of this compares to what stands at number 1. Because our final project doesn't just challenge engineering limits, it reverses them. New York has built some wild towers over the years, but nothing comes close to the audacity behind Affirmation Tower. A project that looks like a trick your eyes aren't supposed to be able to process. Standing 1,663 feet tall with 90 stories and 2 million square feet of interior space, this tower would become the tallest building in Manhattan by roof height, beating even Central Park Tower. But the height isn't what makes it shocking. What makes it shocking is that the tower is built upside down. Every skyscraper on Earth widens at the base and narrows as it rises. That's how gravity is handled. That's how wind loads are managed. That's how buildings stay standing. Affirmation Tower looks at that rule, the most basic rule in structural engineering, and flips it on its head. The structure begins narrow at the bottom and grows outward, floor by floor, until the upper levels are 5 times wider than the base. It stacks massive cantilevered blocks in a way that seems physically impossible. Walking into it would feel like stepping under a giant stone wave frozen in the sky. Designed by Sir David Ajay, the architectural mind responsible for the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the tower uses advanced cantilever engineering and stone bands that give it a pixelated, futuristic texture. Inside, it houses Megaprojects, 2 hotels, high-end office space, an observation deck towering over the city, a full ice skating rink, and the new headquarters for the Norway CP. Economically, the tower could generate 30,000 jobs over 6 years, 15,000 permanent positions, and roughly $5 billion in tax revenue over 3 decades. But what makes this project historic is who's building it. A majority black-owned development team, including the Peebles Corporation and McKissick and Dana Turnite, and the oldest minority and women-owned design and construction firm in the country. Right now, Affirmation Tower is waiting on regulatory approval. But if it gets the green light, New York won't just gain another skyscraper. It will gain a landmark that defies both engineering expectations and architectural tradition, a literal symbol of what can happen when ambition outweighs fear. 5 projects, 5 massive ambitions, 5 examples of how New York refuses to settle for what already exists. A climate research island built to outlast rising seas, a new neighborhood floating above an active rail yard, a bus terminal rebuilt in real time while the world passes through it, a transportation mega-hub meant to serve nearly 1 million people every day, and a gravity-defying tower unlike anything the city has ever attempted. Each one pushes the limits of imagination just a little further, and each one proves something powerful. New York isn't just building buildings, it's building the future. Which of these mega projects blows your mind the most? Drop your pick in the comments. I'm curious which one you'd want to see finished first. And if you love deep dives into world-changing engineering, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss the next one.